I'm going to let him talk today. I was going to kind of listen. I know.
Louis, what are you doing? Louis, you fall asleep?
Living Fred, you're still kind of willing killer.
That's what I'm going to be.
He looks more like Santa every day. I guess you heard about thoughts about the cities.
Mr. Verizon says it's after 6:30. The clock is wrong. We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Solvang City Council for April 10th, 2017. You call the roll, please.
Councilmember Deuce.
Present.
Jameson.
Here.
Toussaint.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
Mayor Richardson.
Here. Ms. Jameson, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager's report.
A couple of things. One, the governor has rescinded most of the drought resolution, and so we'll be bringing back before the council here in one of the next few meetings for you to address our Stage 2 drought restrictions and any modifications you may want to make to that. But
Okay.
so
Does that mean we could start washing cars in the city again?
we still have them in effect in the city. So until we rescind them, they're still in effect. But I don't know that we'll be doing a lot of reinforcement on that. So. And then second, there was a request, and I think, Jim, you were involved with this, from the Santa Barbara Taxpayers Association to give a 15-minute presentation at one of the future council meetings on an energy initiative that they've got that would provide an economic impact to Santa Barbara County. So typically we would want consensus if you want to bring that before you. It's about a 15 to 20-minute presentation. It's more towards the county than the city, but we did say we would request to see if there's a consensus to bring that back.
What's it about? What are they going to tell us?
It's you know, that's a good question. It's a presentation by the Taxpayer Association under Joe Armendariz regarding the energy conditions and possibilities, I guess, within the county. He's giving this speech or talk to various organizations within the county, and it so happens that Solvang is actually the only city, I think, that he's going to make wants to make the presentation to. It's a 15-minute presentation, and so if you would like to have it, just get it to say a yes or a no.
Sure.
Want to hear it?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll schedule him for, I guess, next meeting or meeting after.
Yeah, we probably could do next meeting.
Okay.
That's my report.
Thank you. Public communications, written or verbal. At this time, please direct comments to the City Council regarding consent calendar items or matters not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Council. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. I have several speakers. Tracy Beard, followed by John Winslow.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Beard with the Chamber of Commerce. I first want to thank you all for a great State of the City, and we are getting great response on our business guide, so I want to thank you for helping us with the business guide this year, and this is just our small spring edition. We are also branding our Solvang Third Wednesday as a walk, shop, wine, and dine for our locals and for our tourist guests. We have $25 dinners, 3-course dinners, and we have some new branding, so we are putting that out there, and I just kind of want to let you know what we're doing. And we will still always include what we want to do with the city, but for the next 2 months, we are just doing a branding on our walk, shop, wine, and dine to get more tax dollars in our community. And so we have a couple menus, so that was all. I just wanted to share that with you, what we're doing for the Solvang Third Wednesday coming up, and we are having a media launch on the 19th with press and newspapers and TV coming to walk the farmer's market and then go to, what is it, Mad and Vine for dinner that evening, for a 3-course dinner, and it will all come from the, our, what do you, farmer's market. I always want to say something else than the farmer's market. Okay, so that's all I have to say, and that we are getting ready in May 15th. We will be producing a map very similar to this with Solvang, with a walk, shop, wine, and dine for what is going on in our valley and right here in Solvang, in the city of Solvang, and keep our dollars here.
Thanks very much, Tracy.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you.
John Wills, I can't, I'm sorry.
Wilson. No.
No, it is not.
How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Some of you I haven't met before, some I have. It's nice to see you again. I'm John Wilczak. I'm a resident here in the Valley in San Ynez. I'm recently the past president of the Sheriff's Benevolent Posse. I've been in front of you before because one of the things that we do is run the DARE program in the county with the Sheriff's Department. And I'm sure that you all know that the county's got tremendous budget problems, and they continue to cut the budget for the Sheriff's Department. And the DARE program is at risk countywide now because they're talking about a $6 million minimum cut to the Sheriff's Department budget. And as you know, departments like that largely, I should say offices like that because it's an elected position, the primary asset they have are their people. So if you're going to cut $6 million out of a $120 million budget, you're going to take a bunch of people out, and that's unfortunate. So I'm here to let you know that a couple of years ago we came to you and you were very generous in providing funding to help fund the DARE program here in Solvang. Now, we just recently graduated, as actually in the fall, we graduated 92 kids at the Solvang school from the DARE program. We have overwhelming support from the school. They'd like to have the program back again in the fall of 2017. And we have put in a grant proposal for your consideration to help underwrite the DARE program here in Solvang. We'd like to make sure that we continue the program here. I'm sure you're all aware of what happened at the high school just over a week ago, and helping kids understand what bullying is all about is part of what the DARE program is. It's really an education program that teaches kids good decision making: drugs, alcohol, bullying, cyber security, friend making, risk avoidance. And so we'd appreciate your consideration on that, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about the program if you do.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Tulio Gutierrez. Did I say that right?
Yeah, close enough. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and all of you. I'm a taxi driver, and I came to find out or explain to you in a way about the regulations that we have to follow to be able to be a taxi driver in the county and the city of Solvang and Santa Barbara. Uber and Lyft is two companies that have a lot of power and trying to really destroy the taxi business in the county and in the country if they could. I'm here to see if we can arrange something or find out, because they don't pay any of the regulations or follow any of the regulations that we have. They do have a background check that they do themselves of the driver with a program that I could do it, and then you can be the driver and nobody knows who's who, because they don't have a picture or a license or pay any of that. And so my economical situation is that they had taken 45% of my income, but I still have to pay all the other things that they don't pay. I understand that because the way Uber has been written up by law is a transportation company, which is the same as a taxi company. But they are allowed to participate in my industry without any of my regulations that I have to follow. And I would like to see that either even where they have to do the same that we do, or maybe we don't have to pay anything and do exactly what they do. So I'm coming to you to see how we could work together on this situation in which we have the city, every taxi company have to have a city registration so you know that we're here. I do have it. Sir, I do have it.
Solvang doesn't have a requirement for,
But we do it anyway. It is $45.
that's just a business certificate.
Ignore him for a moment.
Yeah. No, I just want to get to the point before it gets too far ahead.
Sure, right.
And so the whole point is that we are trying to see if we could get some help in this endeavor that we're in. And so in reality, or either we do that or a lot of us have to stop working in the taxi business, and the valley will not have any taxi drivers, and the Uber and Lyft only work here Friday and Saturday. So if you wanted to go anywhere, I don't know how you're going to do it. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I'd like to get a reaction from the city manager and from our legal staff as to where we stand on that
Yeah,
subject.
right. So we have a business certificate that taxi drivers and any other business does in town. It's $31. We don't have any additional taxi regulations other than that.
We don't regulate taxis in Solvang, so no taxi company, Uber, nobody has to come get a special license to run a taxi cab. We don't run any inspection programs for any taxi companies. So we already don't impose the fees and inspection programs and licensing rules that the county does or some other cities do. So we couldn't pass a special one that just did that to Uber. If you wanted to address it and have a special program for all taxis in Solvang, which we don't have at this point, you could. I don't know if that would really help with the overall situation, because the enforcement for your staff would be very difficult. We don't have checkpoints at the roads and to stop people and check and see if they're Uber cars. I'm not sure how it would ever come up that somebody in the police department would know that somebody was driving an Uber car.
Sure.
And I know some cities are attempting to do this type of thing, and in another jurisdiction, I have prosecuted somebody for driving a cab without a cab permit, but I've been prosecuting cases for 25 years now, so that's one time.
Well, I've been reading about how Los Angeles is handling the problem, and it's very difficult for them to handle with the airport. They've given the Uber and Lyft special privileges at the airport that the taxis don't have. And I don't know how, from my own personal position, I don't know how we can overcome something that Los Angeles can't handle, Sure, please, come on up. We can't make this a public discussion, but please, this is your chance for public comment.
I'll make it quick. I came up to talk to you guys a month ago, brought this up as a subject. In regards to the permits and everything, basically what Tulio was trying to say, that every year we go to the Santa Barbara County, we pay $40 for a county permit fee. In turn, they require a random drug test that we sign up for. We pay for random drug testing. It could happen at any time, given time. We do a drug test every year. We also go to the Sheriff's Department, have an FBI background check on everything we've done, so we're handling the public. My concern has been that right now what's happening is revenue. So most of the people that drive Uber, there are a couple of people that live locally, but most of the people that drive Uber look at their app and see what they call surging. And so they're not here during the week to transport. We have elderly that we take to the grocery store. We have elderly we take to the hospital and doctor's appointments. Those Uber people don't. They're a one-way transportation and a one-way back. Example, if we take someone to Zaca Mesa where there's no cell reception, we drive them there, we know we want them to be a return client. We want everybody that comes to this town from a taxi standpoint and a transportation standpoint to be our ongoing client throughout the weekend.
Sure.
And that's what we do. We end up having the same people for 5, 6, 7 rides throughout the weekend where their transportation, we're available to them. Uber, being a one-way transportation, will take you out to Zaca Mesa, but their only mentality is one way. So they take you out there, they drop you off, then they're not available to pick you up. So we are available to pick you up. But if a company like Uber starts to kill the taxi industry and the people can't pay their livelihood, then there's not going to be a taxi service to back that up. At the same time, if you think about it, and I can't quote you numbers right now, I can only have concepts of how much I make per year and how much my brethren make. But if you take all the money that we make in your community, we pay it back to your community, to our mortgages, to our food, to our gardeners, to everything that we do comes back to your community. The people that come in from sometimes San Luis Obispo, sometimes Santa Maria, Santa Barbara, or Ventura, they come up here for the weekend splurging of money, and they're not here during the week. All the revenue they take, they pay part of it to Uber, and they take it out of your community. I don't have a number for you, but the amount of money that they take away from you. But the other part about it is that it's a catch-22. The people who live in, let's say, Los Angeles or Orange County, they come here for our quaint lifestyle, to be in a place that's different from where they live and slow down and enjoy what they do. But yet they want the convenience of their life, like in Orange County, so they bring Uber with them. They attract it with their apps and everything. Well, that's changing the way that we are presented to everybody. We're not a big city like Santa Barbara or Los Angeles, and I know the fight's hard. I do know it's hard. It's just that something's dying here, and it's changing before your eyes with a $50 billion corporation hiding behind the guise of a single individual wanting to make a little bit of income. These Uber drivers rotate 3, 4 months, they're gone. Somebody else is new. But they're taking money out of your community. They're taking it away. It's not coming back. And they're taking jobs.
Thank you for that. The only thing I can say is there a possibility that you could join Uber or Lyft and then concentrate yourself within the city and be that taxi service for them, rather than working for a taxi company?
Personally, my way of approaching this is completely opposite of that. I am a upwardly mobile person, so to cover myself instead of going down to the dregs of society to become part of Uber and become part of a corporate world that I don't believe in, and that pays me 1/3 of what I make right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm an independent contractor. I don't work for anybody else. I work for myself. So what I'm concentrating on is I'm concentrating on my clients being above the Uber fray. People that won't use Uber probably don't even use taxi. So I've got a Sprinter van. I've got a luxury limousine. Those vehicles are being used by people that will pay me what I want. I'm not going to go down. I'm going to go up.
I understand. Thank you very much for your presentation. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Brett Koval.
Transparency. Good evening, council members and mayor. Fred Koval, Solvang. I did record the latest 0.15% rainfall up on my hill this couple of days ago. When we get some more on Wednesday or Thursday, I'll give you an update. Okay. Since I've been talking about San Luis Reservoir, I noticed did it spill? And I noticed in the Independent this past Thursday that Nick Welsh, the Poodle Barbecue, had something to say. And he said there was a spill, 30,000 acre feet. And then he mentioned some other numbers. But he said it spilled from Los Banos Reservoir, which is a pond. So I gave him a call this morning, and he said, oh, it was a typo. It really was the San Luis Reservoir. Wonderful. So I said, where'd you get that information from? He said, oh, I got it from Ray Strokes, CCWA. So I trotted on down there this morning, and I had a talk with the financial director, the new one. Talked about a half an hour. Very cordial, very transparent. And he gave me this sheet. And I wish the city had provided this sheet some time ago. Because this sheet tells all. It says everything. It starts out with 1,500 acre feet. But then for 2017, we're not requesting 1,500 acre feet. Surprise! We're only requesting 1,251. I don't understand why. I thought we wanted it all. Of course, when you take the 60% delivery, that comes out to exactly 900 acre feet that we could expect, unless they raise it up, and they think it's going to be raised up. Okay, then we have, by gosh, they got Antelope Valley up here. How much we owe them? 104 acre feet. See, I never knew the exact number, but that's the number they're showing here. Then there's something about Article 58C carryover, and they got a number for that, 1,291 acre feet. Then they have Metropolitan Water District transfer, 900 acre feet in red. Okay. And then they have something got total 216 carryover, 495. It's 216, 217 carryover. And so then there's something called Article 21 that we could have signed up for. That's what we want now, an additional amount for just the transfer costs. There's a big goose egg on that line, but not everybody else. So then we got delivery status and banked water, and I won't go through the numbers. And then we have water debt, and it shows some numbers for that also. Yeah, 350 debt on exchange. And it's kind of interesting, 2016 it shows 0, 15 it showed 350, and it shows the total debt. Okay. So I really love to have seen this presented by this city to the ratepayers of this city. If you'd like to have this, you can. I can always get more if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Lansing Duncan.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thanks for the opportunity to address you. I think this is the 4th time I've spoken to you about the Valley Plaza redevelopment project. I first came in because I had seen it before the Architectural Review Board, and I was concerned that the scale and character of the project were such that it would have an impact on the community and perhaps not really fit in well. And then I came to you later when I found that the grading and the retaining walls proposed would require the removal of the trees along Highway 246, even though they were promised to be kept. And then I came to you again with neighbors and other community members when we appealed the Planning Commission decision allowing the removal of the hedge and the trees behind the New Frontiers structure along Old Mission Drive, even though that had been promised to be kept. And here I'm in front of you today because I'm alarmed at the placement of Building D. This is the building which they're building now, which replaces the bank structure that was there before. At one point in time, we were told that the existing structure would remain and a small wing would be added to the west side where there was a small parking lot and a little pop-out on the front. But the relationship with Alamo Pintado and Old Mission would remain the same. Subsequent to that, they said, no, actually, we can't keep that. We're going to demolish that and we'll build a new wing a completely new building, excuse me. And so that's obviously what they're doing now. But what I'm alarmed at is that just like the grades on the project, the buildings here are migrating and changing before our very eyes. When originally it was going to be 24 feet from Alamo Pintado, the property line on Alamo Pintado, because that's where the existing building was. Then when a new building was proposed, it looked like maybe that was sited about 20 feet, and now the building they're actually constructing looks like it's about 13 feet. Well, that's alarming to me, because this is a lot taller building, and moving it closer and closer to our roadways, we don't want to get like Buellton, where all of a sudden on 246 you have this alarming structure which really does not fit in with the scale of everything else. So I would encourage you to find out the situation. I tried to do that with an email to Holly Owen. She referred me to the building inspector. Unfortunately, the building inspector took offense when I was simply asking, why is this different from the plan I have? I can't see why or how during the review process it got to a building that is now approved, supposedly, according to Mr. Cooper, at this close, because certainly the visuals that were presented to the public and the Planning Commission did not reflect a building that close. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't seen the New Frontiers building yet. We really want to make sure that this isn't a blank check and that the community really has a handle on what's being developed, and the city has a good grasp on what's being developed, just to be sure it really does fit in with the neighborhood and what we really need. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Lansing, that was very gracious of you. He understands what I mean. I have no other speaker slips for the public comment time. Does anybody else wish to speak? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for council comments and requests. Would you like to start, Neil?
Yeah, no comment tonight.
Ryan?
No comments.
Hans?
No comment.
Joni?
I just have a question. Did we ever send the letter to the governor that we were all going to sign?
No, that's right. There was some potential changes. We have not finalized that for signature, so we'll get that done tomorrow and get signatures on that.
And then I'd like to propose, after reading some information about the library budget, et cetera, that maybe we reinstitute the library ad hoc committee just to kind of review and get a feel for what's going on, not necessarily make recommendations about what the budget should be, because I know we have a budget committee. But I think that it would be good if we just kind of got a better grasp.
If we get a consensus, we can bring an item back to create that. We would have
sure.
to.
Is there anybody else who wants to be on that library?
I'd like to volunteer for it.
Okay. Let's bring that back then to make it an official. Can we do that, Roy?
We can bring it back. I don't think we can create one tonight.
You don't have to create one because any two council members can work on any issue they want to together. So you could have an informal one without council action, or we can put it on the agenda to formally create an ad hoc committee, whichever approach you desire.
I think it should be formalized.
Well, is it okay if we meet before it's formalized?
Yeah, well, yeah,
because we're running out of time.
Right,
yeah, as Roy said, two council members can always meet.
Okay.
And we can give you our blessing that you are the library ad hoc committee.
Okay.
And then we'll formalize that next meeting. No?
Yeah, no blessing yet.
And I can attend also without a problem.
Well, we're going to come and camp out in your office, Brad. You have the information. Okay, thank you.
My comment is we, the city and the city council, made proclamations for the San Ynez Valley Foundation and along with the San Ynez Valley News men and woman of the year presentation at their banquet last Saturday. It was very well received. The men of the year were Sid and Dave Goldstein, and the woman of the year was Linda. Help me. Burrows, that's right, yes. Linda Burrows. And it was, the place was packed, and they were all well received, the volunteers. There were several volunteers. Some youth were there, too, that made great presentations. It was a fantastic thing, and I thank you all for the proclamation that was delivered. And with that, we're on to the correspondence. Did everybody receive their, any comments on the correspondence?
I have a comment.
Go.
Since we're giving out proclamations, et cetera, I think it would be, did we ever do anything for Hands for doing the, no, I think we should. I think we should do it for Hands and the other gentleman that was, it was Bobby Hatch. I think they should be recognized for their efforts up at Atterdyke Village.
Agreed.
We can definitely bring that together.
Okay.
We'll embarrass Hands.
Good for Bobby. It was really him that started it.
Well, he started it, but you finished it. Okay, thank you.
And did you all receive the letter from We Watch regarding the sphere of influence? I was told that that was sent to every council person.
Yep.
And I've gotten several emails regarding sphere of influence that there seems to be a move afoot to ask us to not continue on with that study. So
I don't think they understand it.
So there you go. On to the next item. The approval of the agenda is presented. Any changes to the agenda anybody wants to make? Council minutes of the March 27th. Can I have a motion approving if there's no additions, corrections, or deletions?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstained? No, pass 5-0. The consent agenda is just one item. Does anybody want to talk about the warrant register? If not, can I have a motion accepting the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second it.
There's second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Pass 5-0. On to the regular agenda, item number 7.
Item 7, water and wastewater rate increases.
Staff report.
We're actually, we've been working with a consultant since the last meeting, and staff is going to actually request this be continued, that we don't need to do a rate increase in 2017-18, so that we'll push this down a year, and we'll work on different scenarios for next fiscal year. After one of the things we want to do is evaluate the new meters and see how more accurate they're reading, see what kind of consumption are coming out of that. So that'd be part of the process. But at this point, with the numbers, what we've worked with the consultant is we can go another year without a rate increase on the water and wastewater rates.
That's fantastic news, actually. That's really good news. No water rate increase this year. We'll continue on, though, with the meter replacement.
We have that in the budget, so when you approve your capital improvement program and your budget, that would be in there.
Okay,
I have a question about that. We are we're transferring $1 million into the water.
Well, there was a couple of scenarios. So what this first one would be $400,000 for the next round of new meters.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah.
Why are we only doing that amount now?
Well, there's a capacity issue as how many we can do in a year.
Okay.
So yeah, and we're still kind of working with the software and issues, so we want to make sure we got this dialed in before we completely go over into the system. So yeah, we had anticipated phasing that over 3 years.
Okay, have you considered, Ryan and I were talking today, just checking out that the meters out at the LSL, those type, are what we want to use?
Well, that's one of the other things. We like the meter, but with the software, we're having a little issue with that right now. So we're working on that to make sure we don't want to go all in before we make sure we've got the right product for us.
Okay, and then my next question is, how are you going to phase this in? Are you going to be looking at some of the older areas of the city that have old meters, and you're going to hit them first?
I'm going to let Matt come up and talk on that.
Good evening, Mayor Richardson and council members. Matt Vanderlinden, your Public Works Director and City Engineer. So, yeah, basically, the prices that we indicated previously were based on the city's water staff installing the meters. And so with all their other duties and being available for emergencies and meter reading and running our wells and everything else, there's only so many hours a week that they can dedicate to installing new meters. So that's why we are phasing it in over 3 years. And what the water staff are working on right now, actually, is identifying the neighborhoods that are the most time-consuming for us to read and also have the oldest meters. And those are the first neighborhoods that we're going to do the retrofit. So the concept there is the oldest meters are most likely to be the least accurate or the most inaccurate, and therefore we're giving away the most free water through those meters. So we want to rectify, and address that first. And then also some of the neighborhoods, just the way the meter reading route is structured, are very time-consuming to do, and so we're also looking at that. And so we're going to pick approximately 1/3 of the neighborhoods to do each year for the next 3 years. So.
And do we have to replace all the meters at Skip Mesa?
No, actually, all the meters in Skip Mesa are the new type. So the meters that we're installing are radio read meters, and the meters that we're using in Skip Mesa, just the register has to have an add-on, the radio add-on to it. So we installed meters anticipating just to be able to add the radio to it, and it'll be ready to go. So we don't have to replace the meters.
Are there multiple vendors? Is that the idea that you're looking at?
Yeah, well, actually, last year we did go through a lengthy process. We looked at 3 or 4 different meter manufacturers, and we narrowed it down to census meters and master meters. And we did a lengthy analysis and compared the two. And what we determined was there's a few issues with the radio units for the master meters. We would have to have retrofit all the meter box lids, and there were a couple other items I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But at that time, we determined that using the census meters would be the most cost-effective. And Census is the company that the city's been using for many years. At any rate, as the city manager mentioned, we are having some minor problems with the software. It's basically that we're not getting the support that we need, and so we've been talking with the sales representative for census meters, and we're trying to rectify that before we purchase any more meters. So what we did with the first phase, which was the LSL Ranch, we spent approximately $100,000. So, and that was an attempt to kind of do a trial phase and kind of work out the bugs before we launched into the larger projects. So.
Good. Sounds good to me.
If you'd like, I could respond also to a couple of comments regarding the table that you have from CCWA.
Oh, sure.
So I thought it would be helpful. The column that says Solvang, or the requested water, what CCWA does is they look at, for all the different member agencies, they look at the maximum, the historical maximum for each month that those agencies have used of state water. And then they add that up, and that cumulative total is the quote-unquote requested amount. And what the purpose of that is we provide that number to CCWA in September, and that is to reserve capacity in the pipeline. So the Department of Water Resources, they have to do a lot of advanced planning for maintenance of facilities, pump stations, and all these type of things, and they need to know approximately how much water all these different agencies around the whole state are going to want to make sure that all the facilities, the pump stations, the aqueduct, the pipelines, the reservoirs that are all associated with this, that they have adequate capacity to supply that, kind of like more or less maximum amount of water that you might take. And so they have a process. If the requests are above and beyond what capacity they have, then there's a whole process where they go back and they notify the different wholesalers like CCWA, Metropolitan Water District, hey, we don't have capacity to deliver that full amount, we can only deliver 90%, and so that, or whatever the amount might be. And those wholesalers go back to their member agencies and say, hey, we got to, you know, and they have a process similar to what DWR has, and that way everybody can plan in advance for the approximate maximum amount of water that they'll be able to get each month.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that I think it's 1,251 or 31 or whatever the number is. For Solvang, that number hasn't changed because during the drought, we haven't had any of our historical maximum months. So for the last several years, it's remained the same. But, and we know we're typically not going to use that amount of water. So it's a very cautious and conservative way to ensure that we have capacity to get us the amount of water we need each month. So that's what that column's all about. And I haven't seen a recent update of this spreadsheet, but we are, Solvang has requested Article 21 water, and that's sort of like the spill water that we get in essence for free. So I'm not sure why there'd be a number 0 on there if there is, but we have been requesting that along with most of the CCWA agencies. So just rest assured, we're requesting that. The other thing is, during times like this when there's all these unusual things happening with San Luis Reservoir spilling and these exchanges, and they don't know how long Article 21 water will be available and all this, during these types of situations, this spreadsheet is updated weekly. CCWA has to make a weekly request to DWR for Article 21 water. And so it's updated weekly. This information is on the CCW website and presented publicly at their quarterly operations meetings and their quarterly board meetings. So it's readily available out there, but under these kind of circumstances like right now, it gets updated regularly. And we've been told repeatedly by CCWA, and even just recently this past week, that the final numbers of the true exact amount of spill and if Metropolitan Water District lost any of their water in the spill, because that factors into how much return water we get from them, how much Article 21 water we'll get. They think Article 21 water will be available into June. They're not sure. So, you know, there's so many variables that could possibly change these numbers. And anyway, so we've been monitoring all this, the staff, and if there was anything of like real significance, we would certainly bring it to your attention. I do apologize if this is, you know, these like weekly information you'd want. We can request that, but just wanted to be aware that it is changing under these circumstances right now, which are kind of unusual. And so we try to keep you completely informed, and especially the most critical factors. And anyway, so I do apologize if I haven't provided you information.
I think we have complete confidence in what you're doing. I mean, of all the years of experience you've had, and how lucky we were to get you, you know, I think that we're doing great. But I do have one question, and pardon my ignorance, but would you define Article 21 water?
So, per the agreement between the state water contractors and the Department of Water Resources, there's a section called Article 21 in the contract, and basically that article covers the accounting for a spill, what they call spill water, and its availability to the wholesalers and member agencies.
I mean, as it's spilled, it can be used before.
So in essence, it's water that you get that doesn't count against your allocation. So that's why they call it free water. You still pay the variable rate on it, but in essence, it doesn't count towards our allocation. So when Article 21 water is flowing, it doesn't count towards your allocation. So that's why everybody takes it.
What jumps on it?
So, and it does basically compensate for or replaces part of what we lost in the spill. So that's.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
I had a couple. With regard to our meter replacement program, is there any other local agencies that have deployed the brand that you're looking at, or like is there anyone else we can talk to about before kind of
Yeah,
diving
sure.
deeper into their...
Sure. I believe the city of Santa Maria uses Census, but Census is one of the largest meter manufacturers in the country. I think they are the largest. So they're very prevalent around California.
Okay. And then my other was, you got the valve and fire hydrant replacement program as well as the water line replacement program.
Right.
My understanding of the last meeting was when we were talking about the loss that was there. Would those two CIPs, if we did those sooner than later, would those help us chip away at the...
Yeah, a little bit. You know, the leaks and main breaks that we have, that does generate the unaccounted for water that we have no revenue source or doesn't produce revenue for us. However, the inaccurate meters are the vast majority of the unaccounted for water.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's any reason to kind of front load those as well.
Yeah, it's just the benefit is avoiding the other costs. When you can do your larger maintenance on a proactive basis rather than a reactive basis, you can generally save money. For example, if you have a main break, what usually happens is you have water gushing out of the pavement, and you have a big sinkhole. And I've had experience where cars, you know, if it's on a main road, you know, cars don't see it. It depends. You know, a lot of times it happens at the worst time in the middle of the night.
Right.
You know, a car drives into it, and then that creates a lot of liability for the city. And then now you have to do all this emergency stuff, and sometimes you have to get a contractor out to help you, and now they're charging you T&M instead of bidding on a contract.
So that becomes a very expensive project very quickly.
The cost basically doubles, you know, and then you have all the pavement restoration and everything else. So yeah, so basically it can double, but...
so would it be a good judgment call to maybe move these things up a little bit?
It would be. What we're trying to do, though, is implement the valve replacements first, because one of the critical things you need to do if you're going to replace a water line, at some point you have to do a shutdown to abandon the old pipe and tie in the new pipe along that stretch where you've replaced it. And if the valves aren't good, then you have to go further and further back, and to do that shutdown, instead of just affecting one block or 2 blocks, now you're affecting like 10 blocks and so right now we have a lot of old malfunctioning valves and several that are broken. So we feel the proper sequence would be first address the valves so we can get good shutdowns. And that also, when you have a main break, you can shut it down more, you know, easily and more quickly, and you're going to reduce your loss of water. So, so that's our approach, to first try to work on that. In a perfect world, we would move all this up. We would do both. Some agencies have that luxury. They have really inexpensive sources of water supply, but we're trying to do everything we can. You know, to keep the water rates down, and so that's one thing that we felt we could defer that a little bit, but we want to definitely do the valves first before the pipelines.
Well, I guess what I'd like council to consider is potentially just moving these things up and look at the numbers, making that a gift from the fund, just getting these things knocked out and take care of them.
So you will have an opportunity when we bring the capital program to you that will have all of that in there. That'd probably be a better opportunity for you to talk about adjusting any of those.
Okay.
I think at this point, what we heard is you know, these individual projects that will be funded by the general fund will come to you for approval for that purpose. But yeah, I think in this particular case, that's not going to affect the rates at this point. So, but we definitely are hearing that information, and as Matt prepares his capital plan for the current year.
I wasn't trying to go into rates or anything. I was just
but that So we definitely, you will have the capital plan before you to make those types of direction on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Do you want to go forward with your presentation, Brad?
I wasn't going to. Essentially, that was based on the 5.5% increase. We're now going to say 0 the first year. We'll continue that for a year.
We will stick with no rate increase the next fiscal year.
The next fiscal year.
That's good news. Will that impact us down the road any by not having a rate increase early
Well,
on?
it'll reduce your revenue, yeah.
Yeah,
But we think...
will it change the adjustment later on for rate increases?
Well, not really. If most of the money is going to be coming from the general fund, your capital side will get covered that way.
And you have the additional advantage of, with more, assuming we can proceed with the meter replacements, you'll have the additional advantage of more accurate information on how it helps capture the water. So you'll be even, when that time comes around, you can be even more accurate in terms of rate increase, which that potentially, if you find out we have savings, in other words, we're actually charging and collecting for, we have less lost water, that's less amount you have to raise your rates to meet your cost of service.
You know, my concern is little rate increases now eliminate the need for big increases later, right? Okay, but we'll be all right, right? Okay. So thank you, Matt. Is there any of the questions that council has? Do we need to bring it to the audience for public comment? Is there any public? Fred, I have Fred's. Would you like to make comment on?
You caught me by surprise. No comment.
No comment. Okay.
Whoa.
How about a thank you, Fred?
And Joni said I talked too much.
Do you have public comment on the water rate increase?
One thing that the gentleman here pointed out, some cities have been able to remove Lyft and Uber by the simple way of asking them to have a real background check, a license,
Just
and
a minute.
meter.
Wait, that's not germane to this right now. We're talking about the water rate increase.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was wanting to. I'm sorry. I've never been here before. So I
Okay,
don't know
that's all right. We
Thank you.
understand. You bet. Seeing no other public comment, we'll bring it back to the council for direction. The city manager recommending to table this for how long?
We'll bring it back to you next year.
Okay, so table indefinitely? Okay. So can I have a motion indicating we table this agenda
I'll
item?
make that motion that we table this indefinitely, water rates and everything stays the same as current until we get it back in a year or so.
And with that direction that we talked about
yeah.
on the budget, that we'll
Yeah.
be moving forward that capital.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Would you call the roll, please? Been moved and seconded.
Councilmember Deuce?
Yes.
Toussaint?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mayor Richardson?
Yes, and that passed with a 5-0. Hazel, I overlooked your public comment. Would you like to speak on the water rate increase?
No. No, it's about water, okay? Just a minute.
Sure.
I just wanted to say, as you know, I often disagree with the people that run this city, but I do want to say when I had a leak recently, this man could not have been more helpful. He was wonderful. He really seemed to care. And also the 2 young men that he sent out in the truck were very helpful. We thought we were going to have to dig up most of the road and I would be stuck with the bill. I was not in the best of moods. I hadn't had a shower or water for 24 hours, and they really came forth. And I did want to say that, because you do have some decent employees.
We do. We have some very good employees,
Yes.
Hazel.
Yes.
and listen,
Yes.
seriously, I really appreciate those comments because you do take a different view of what's going on in the city, and this is a perfect example of what we do all of the time. We have great employees that do great work.
Well, I'm not giving you credit for
I don't
it.
want credit. Actually, what you've got is Matt over there with a red face.
I give credit where credit is due, and they deserve the credit.
I got you.
And they did very well, and I just wanted to make that statement.
Thank you very much,
you.
Hazel. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, on with the next item. Item 8.
Item 8, Solvang, Skip Mesa, Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District, number 2004-1, resolution confirming and levying assessments.
Staff report.
Well, I do have to say the water operations staff deserve most of the credit. They did all the hard work. So. And I will communicate Ms. Mortenson's compliment to them.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Matt.
Anyway, so I'll try to be brief. I know 3 of you have heard this over and over again every year, and I know it's new for Councilman Toussaint, so feel free to ask as many questions as you'd like at the end. Anyway, so back in 2003, the City Council approved the Skip Mesa subdivision along with all the conditions of approval. And one of those conditions of approval was to implement or create a landscape and lighting maintenance district. And that district was formed in 2004. And so initially when the district was formed, the original developer put a large chunk of money in the account for the reserve for that. And the residents in Phase 1 began paying for the landscape maintenance and the street lighting in Phase 1. And that went on for a few years. Of course, the developer went bankrupt. Then in 2011, and I think between 2004 and 2011, there was one increase in the annual assessment for the district per property. In 2011, we realized, oh my gosh, the reserve was getting eroded away very quickly, and so 2011 and 2012 we implemented pretty significant increases that brought it up to $1,200 per year per parcel. And so since 2013 to now, so for 5 years, we've been able to hold the assessment the same. And that might seem a little strange. Of course, we know costs increase every year, but the staff, with suggestions and ideas from the residents, staff worked and identified a few different ways where we could cut costs. So one area was we identified two of the 4 meters that served Phase 1 could be downsized from 2-inch to 1-inch. And so as you can imagine, that's a big change in the monthly fee. And so we experienced some cost savings from that. And then in Phase 3 and 4 now with the drought, the landscape design was changed to incorporate no grass, turf, and to incorporate drought-tolerant plants. So instead of Phase 3 and Phase 4 each needing 2 water meters, each phase only needed 1 water meter. So that again reduced the monthly charges for the landscape and lighting district. So so this year we're still able to hold that same assessment. $1,200 a month is what's being proposed, and the developer will continue to be responsible for paying the assessment for any parcel until it's been sold. And Phase 4 is still under the responsibility of the developer until they finish Phase 4. So we anticipate all the homes and the landscape improvements in Phase 4 will be completed by January 1st, 2018. And so at that point, the Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District will take over maintenance of Phase 4. So basically for the first half of the next fiscal year, it'll just be Phase 1, 2, and 3. And beginning January 1st, if everything goes as expected, the district will take over all 4 phases. So as far as alternatives, basically the really only apparently viable alternative would be for the city to hire additional staff and purchase the equipment necessary and take over maintenance of the assessment district, but or the landscape and lighting maintenance district. The only thing is that would most likely significantly increase costs to the residents because of all the overhead and benefits and everything for the city staff. As far as fiscal impact, there's really no fiscal impact to the city. All the properties within Skip Mesa will fund the assessment, which will be placed on their property tax bill, and so no fiscal impact to the city. And that concludes my staff report.
Are there any questions of the staff report? Seeing none, thank you, Matt. Then we'll go to the public for public comment. Is there anybody in the public wishes to comment on this item? I have no public speakers slips.
This may be the first year we've never had public comment on this LMMD.
A red letter day for Matt.
Very good. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council for action. Does anybody have a discussion, wish to take an action, make the motion?
I'll make the motion, we go with staff recommendation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Deuce?
Yes.
Toussaint?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mayor Richardson?
Yes, and that passes with a 5-0. On to item number 9.
Item 9, increase contingency funding for the fire station addition.
Staff report?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, you awarded the bid for the fire station back in, I believe it was in September. So it's been quite a while, maybe it's October. But during the construction, we've run into a couple of requirements for change orders. One was we opened up the ground and the hole got soaking wet, and we had to over-excavate at a considerable cost. And then more recently, when they discovered that the existing building was not securely tied to the current building, we had another change order that's going to take, we're going to have to open up the fire tower and strap the new building to it. Another considerable cost item. So we've looked at some other alternatives to save some money. And what I think what we've come up with from a staff level is to take the parking lot. We were going to remove some of the islands and do some patching as part of the contract. Take that out for now. Because when the soils engineer was out looking at the project, they determined that the soil there the pavement's in terrible shape and in need of complete replacement. So it's really not worth patching and doing small things like that. So we're going to propose a project in the next capital improvement plan that will come in and remove all of that and actually do some subsurface drainage as part of the new requirements. So we're kind of the model for what we're asking other people to do. So we're going to be bringing that back forth for the parking lot improvement. But at this time, what we're looking for is to increase that budget. I think there was a 10,000 contingency approved initially, so we're looking to increase that to have another 20 available for the project, just in case anything else comes up, and so we don't have to come back to City Council for that. So that's my staff report.
Any questions of staff report? Seeing none, we'll go to the public for comment. Fred? One speaker slip. You ready?
Fred Koval, Solvang resident. Mayor and City Council members. I really don't know why you guys have put one dime into this extension. And I hadn't really heard the justification of why you need this truck. It seems like the casino, who has major properties in this town, shouldn't be footing the whole bill. And they're the ones that wanted the fire truck, fine. They wanted it here for some reason, fine. But they should have borne all of the cost for this. And it just doesn't seem proper. The city should be doing anything in regard to that. What else is going to happen? Do we need any additional living facilities? Is there going to be additional drain on water use? Keep that fire truck clean? The sewer, where's the water going to go? Does it go into our sewer when they wash that truck? Or does it go into the storm sewer? These might be nits, but then again, they might not. But we've never seen a complete, real thorough analysis of all the ancillary costs that would go into maintaining this fire truck. So I'm just worried that we've got some creep here, that maybe we should have asked the Chumash first if they wanted to help us on this. Maybe split it 50-50, because this was an increase unknown. At least that should have been done. At least talk to them. Sounds like nobody really even talked to them about this. For your consideration.
Thank you, Fred. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council for action, discussion. Anybody with any comments?
Question. Did we ever get a formal agreement with who's going to pay for the additional firefighter or any additional other costs that are reoccurring?
There is no additional firefighter for this truck. They went to a paramedic, last year, and the county is fully funding that with no increase. Yeah.
So there's no other cost at all as far as?
Not that I'm aware of on the new truck. It'd all be borne by the Santa Barbara County Fire Department. They're getting the truck. We're just expanding our building that it's in.
All right.
We have to remember that truck's also available for the citizens of Solvang in case of fire. It's just not only for the casino. So that's the nexus, I believe, in our aiding in the costing of it. Any other comments?
30 years ago, and it was possibly Smith at that time, saw the need for aerial equipment because of several incidents we had in town within a few months of each other where we had to bring aerial equipment in from Lompoc. And I believe one time out of Station 11 in Santa Barbara. And so since that time until County Fire took over, we had aerial equipment here. It's not used much, but when it is needed now. We don't have time to wait for the equipment to come in, or I shouldn't say we don't have time to. We should not have time to wait for equipment to come in from 15, 20 minutes after the initial alarm, after the call goes out for that equipment. We're losing a lot of in those precious minutes. So if there is a little bit of extra cost, when the big one does hit, having a piece of equipment like this available in a matter of a few minutes is going to easily justify a little bit of extra cost.
And then we also must remember the financial obligation the city of Solvang has regarding this, the Santa Barbara County Fire District is we provide them a percentage of our total property tax to finance our part of the fire service we receive. As our property tax levels goes up, the amount of dollars they receive go up. As their costs go up or down, we're isolated from those increasing or decreasing costs. For example, the cost of diesel fuel. It can go out of sight. We have no responsibility to add to our contribution to their finances for that kind of thing. So we think we've got the best of both worlds, having the fact that we're not paying for this truck, but it's going to be here for our available use is just it's a godsend. It's really necessary. And Hans is absolutely right. He was on the volunteer fire department for many years and has seen a lot of fires in the city and how they're handled, and he appreciates that, and I respect his judgment for that. So can I have a motion regarding the staff recommendation?
Oh, wait, one more question. The $38,000 that we have left over, the balance, I think it is for the allocation for the Alamo Pintado Bridge or something?
Yeah, it was.
Is there a way to apply that, or?
Yeah, that's where we'll draw it from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll draw it from that.
So I'll move that we go with staff recommendation.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Deuce?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Toussaint?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Mayor Richardson?
Yes, and that passes with a 5-0. That's the end of the agenda items, except for council member reports. Any committees that anybody has to report on? Seeing none. Any other comments, requests, anything? Okay, with that, we're adjourned.